experience.
Do I have time to get a little more coffee?
No, we're live right now.
Wake
Darn
up.
it.
Wake
Missed
up.
it.
You missed her. Well, but it was funny that you were saying that with Janice. Is like I could see like the next generation of women, like your daughters that you say, for example, sitting down at a table with her and just I can imagine they'd be in awe of sitting with someone like her.
She is someone who, like, there's people who trailblaze and pave the way. She is like, I mean, she was like making the trail. Like, there was no trail before her, and she was making it. She wasn't just paving it; she was making it. Like, it's amazing.
She carries herself with a level of confidence that comes from knowing where you come from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, then you know. It's not telling her. It's like I've been there. I've done that. So that was having teenage kids, especially women, you see how, I don't know about you, but growing up, it was hard to define where you were going at 16, 17 years old, which is what my oldest is right now. And it will be great to have someone to show her that focus and motivation and energy pays off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, Janice Torres is completely different from my daughters. I mean, I think they're sheltered in a way, but still change to be made for women in general. So yeah.
So why don't we go ahead and pause on that, because I know we're going to keep talking about this.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and let's kick off the Afterglow, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is the Afterglow Live Recap Podcast. My name is Syya.
And I'm Erin Gregor.
And we are the Dallas co-chairs of Global Leaders Organization, and we're also the co-founders of Innovation Media Enterprises, a boutique and very cool podcast strategy, consulting, and production agency. So what are we recapping today? We are recapping Janice, I'm going to mess up, Bryant Howroyd, the first African-American self-made billionaire, extraordinaire. And as you probably heard us talking a little bit earlier in the lead-in, she is an amazing and just awe-inspiring woman. And to help us talk about it today is the Houston Chair, Mr. Tino Urbina. Welcome.
Hey, how are you guys? Thanks for having me. Looking forward to the conversation.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us. And it's Texas in the house. Just let's say it, guys. Texas in the house.
Nice.
It's a Friday day, so I'm really excited about it. And I hate to say it, I was thinking last night about, Janice's conversation, and I just couldn't help but think it's possible. Like we can make an impact. We could be a small fry in a big ocean, if you will, and actually make a dent, make some waves. So you guys, this is gonna be real free flow conversation, but Janice, holy smoke. We were talking about earlier, Erin, you said she wasn't just a trailblazer. She was a trail definer, it almost seems like. Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, her story even goes back through the civil rights movement and her going to school at an all-white school, because, just the woman is truly amazing. And yeah, she came at a time, let's be honest, like, there's still room to be made for women. I know Michelle's passion with GLO is that women businesses aren't invested in as much. And there's definitely room to grow. We've got places to be, but we're so much more fortunate than she was when she began, and she did it. She paved, like I said, it wasn't even, I feel like we're paving. Maybe we're like laying some asphalt down at this point, right? But she was like, there was no trail to get on. She was making it.
I think there's a couple of things. You mentioned something, Syya, about her being so quotable.
Yes.
And her response to me was, for some reason, we don't think about what we say sometimes, or the value that carries to somebody. And how important sometimes those words of wisdom become. And I think the saying of, words mean things carries heavy on her because her background and their history. I think she found herself being looked after as a leader on her own right, as a African-American woman business owner, which, talking about courage to back in the 70s with all the things against African-American women and starting a business alone can carry. She sees herself as someone that has to say the right thing every time. Maybe not the right thing, but the right thing in the sense that it's going to be impactful, not just talking, right? So that was, I don't know if I do that enough. I should. I think we all should in a way.
So, it's like a daily struggle for me to really be intentional with my words. If you notice one thing she did, which I picked up on immediately, when she's thinking, she slows down her speech and her cadence.
Yep.
But by her slowing down, she's able to really be intentional in her words, and it comes out so eloquently. And I'm right now trying to slow down to ensure that I'm not saying or not sounding like an idiot, all that good stuff. It's when you slow your brain down, it really does help. And she called it, as an African American and female in business circles, she doesn't have that split second to waste away because she has to prove herself. She had to prove herself. She had to be articulate to be, quote, better than the average in order to gain credibility. And that is a very real problem, I think, in general. But for those that maybe don't understand, if you're already starting from a negative perception point and you have to climb your way out, it can be tough.
Well, can you imagine how many times in her life she probably heard, "You don't sound like a Black person"?
Yeah.
I mean, can you know what I'm saying? Like, not to be, can you imagine how many times she's heard that statement?
Well, I think I heard in an interview of hers with, I think it was Fortune. She was saying how different she is as a person, that she's not fitting in one box, even on her own community.
Yeah.
So that's the reason. I mean, she's been there, done that, and the fact that she's tremendously successful, it is not mistake that she's mentoring as she goes with everybody. We all want to know, I think in the past we have this conversation of, don't you wish somebody would tell you how could you change things for the better now instead of 20 years from now? Yeah, she will be one that love to have in the dinner table, or, let Janice help buy drinks. Love to sit down and pick some bread.
Yeah. I can't imagine the stuff she heard in boardroom. I mean, I just know what men say to women in general. I can't imagine what she had to grin and bear and keep going. I can't even begin to imagine.
Yeah,
she did it anyway.
So let's talk about some of the fundamental things that she did, though, for her success. So let's be honest. Obviously, she started out with nothing. She borrowed $600 from her mom. There was a question about, hey, did you take investment? And it was interesting in that VIP room. Or was it VIP or was it in public? But either way, she borrowed money, $600 from her mom, and she was able to parlay that into her business.
Well, she had saved some money too. She was very specific about that. Like, she had some of her own money, but yeah, like she wanted to make sure it wasn't all her mother. It was fine that she defined that.
So if anyone knows anything about recruiting, that industry, it can be very difficult at times. I used to be an IT recruiter back in the day, and I had the luxury of having it, quote, easier because it was during the .com boom back in the day. I'm dating myself. And it was easy to place someone because it was a what do you call it? It was a new employee market, right? Because a lot of people jump ship, right? With all these startup, tons of money was going in, and it can be extraordinarily competitive against the bigger IT recruiting place, right?
Sure.
So how do you differentiate yourself? And she used a word that I was like, ooh, I wrote it down and I was like all excited. She mastered localization.
Yep.
And how do you define localization in your terms for your business? So I guess I should explain, localization is globalization, right? But she said focus locally. So if you can master your local market and the values and needs of your community, you will be able to replicate it as you grow globally. That's basically the premise of it, is master local, because that's what you have and what you know. So Tino or Erin, how do you think of localization for our own businesses?
So I think when a company, an enterprise gets to grow so large, they have to create systems, and those systems are blanketed across different regions, different cultures, different ways of doing business. And so where it's perceived as a way to be efficient in a global scale, right? We know what we're doing across our ecosystem. It's really not effective locally, because it crashes or clashes with the culture, with the attitudes, with the current circumstances within the given market. And I think her noticing that, I think it makes a difference. And again, I got to go back to her background, saying, here's what I wish I would have. It's not a CEO that, prestige university graduate that, comes in and now dictates what's going to happen. She's been there. She built the business from zero to where she's today. Her perspective and perception of how better to connect with people drove her to the conclusion that to be successful globally, you got to start local. That's my take. And related to business, I mean, in my case, it's sales, marketing, technology. So it's a relationship consultancy. So at that level, usually you base your decisions local. So I don't have yet that perspective of the global, though, I do have clients elsewhere in the world, but obviously not a $1 billion scale, which that also says a lot. $1 billion company doing business local.
Well, I think it's like almost another version of niching or niching, whatever you want to use it, potato. But it's that same thing where you want to go at a bigger scale, but before you go at the bigger scale, you got to hone in on a small portion first. And it's the same type of concept. If you get too big, you're going to drown in trying to just find your client and connect with the client and understand those things. So it was get really, really, really good at a small thing, whether that's local or, niche or whatever, but just know that in and out. So when you grow, your process is down, you've got that, it's easy to scale versus trying to do too much at once and you get nowhere.
So it reminds me of that previous speaker that we've referenced before. And I think Joseph mentioned him last week as well. And I just love him. It was Yoshi, the gentleman that was in the Amazon. He said, monopoly, right? Create a monopoly. And I was laughing at it, but she in essence is saying the same thing, is create your local monopoly, if you will, and master it such that the other competitors, they're always going to exist, but you differentiate yourself. So she said one of the things that she differentiated herself versus her competitors was focus on the customer's interests and being a candidate advocate. So again, going back to recruitment, because this is her field and industry, and I understand it too as a former recruiter, is oftentimes when you're looking for candidates for a job description, you're typically catering to the business, the people that are looking for the talent. And oftentimes you're just finding those individuals that will match the job description. And she flipped it on the other side and said, no, how about this? Look at your candidates, look at what makes them whole, human, etc., and really give them the great experience such that if there is an opportunity that they can match and connect, it is a more deeper connection versus, oh, do you have C++ skills or blah, blah, blah skills, right? And I think that's what really differentiated, because again, it's like moving humans around, and it can be callous and cold in recruitment. So I really liked her point on that, was flip it over, like do different. You're doing the same task, but make it a different experience overall.
Yeah. And just the time she came into the industry. I mean, like I said, I can't imagine everything she's been through, but you had to have your own, again, it's like you had to have your own unique spin on it just to stand out and get in the room and get, and then once you kind of build that, all right, my candidates they're there longer, they are there, but she definitely had to approach it differently just to be able to stand out.
So I have a question on this, and because doing it differently, and she kind of goes down this path. She is a force to be reckoned with, guys.
Yeah.
Like, it was very obvious in the conversation. She was like, no BS. She took no BS. But it was very interesting on her perspectives on women and women in leadership. So she had thrown this out here, and I think this is debatable. She had mentioned that women have a prejudice against the individual versus the aggregate, or she says, or she kind of like inferred that women have a tendency to think of the holistic picture versus the individual, whereas men typically think of the individual over the holistic bigger picture. And that's why they tend to shy away from things. And I thought that was really interesting that I don't know if I agree or disagree with that, but do you understand what I'm trying to say here? Because I took the notes here. She's used a mother anagram. She does a lot of anagrams, and I was like, I can't type fast enough for it. But anyway, I don't know if you guys caught that or not, but it was just the fact that she said women in general tend to like stand back because they're looking at the greater good of everybody, whereas men will just go and just sometimes Leroy Jenkins it and just go in without the plan.
I think I interpret that a little different, maybe.
Okay.
Not so much. I can see the perspective from, women and men in business. We have different ways to approach scenarios, but the way I understood it is on your own, or we're all the winning mentality. I heard her say that before. The winning mentality of the we are winning, as in woman, as in African American, as in company, as an individual, as in the winning inclusive of all of it. But she does. I recall she did make a point to say that men see things a little differently traditionally. And I can't disagree with that. I mean, when we think about winning, is somewhat individualistic, and the way she expresses the winning, again, a little paradigm shift. Those little things that people say and do that defines them and why they're successful. That's she has many of them. As you were saying, she's very quotable. So yeah.
So women almost going in as a whole versus a man's going to look out for himself, kind of.
That's the kind of vibe I got. That's the kind of vibe I got. So
well,
I was wondering,
we're nurturing by nature. I mean, that's and we do have a hard time. I think it can be good in some ways, but I think it can be a detriment to us too. We want to take care of everybody else. We want to, how many times I thought it was just a me thing, but how many times as women do we like discredit ourselves because wasn't that big of a deal, or wasn't that hard, or I had a great team, or whatever. Like, we discredit, and it hurts us. It 100% hurts us. So, we're so busy trying not to hurt everybody's feelings that I think it's not that we have to ditch everybody and only think of ourselves like a man. Sorry, Tino, but just kidding. But I do think we do need to be more promoting, maybe not the best word, but be selfish a little bit.
Well, I will say, look, being a dad with 3 girls, I mean, I'm not raising my kids to be. Let me take that back. I'm raising the girls to be strong, intelligent, self-sufficient women that happen to choose a career path or individual for the rest of their lives, right? Because I do see it. I recently was in a conference, and this particular industry, 90% of the people there were men. I mean, very small group of women, and frankly, it's obvious that they're doing tremendously better than some of the guys that have been doing it for a long time. And it's just now in corporate America starting to shine. But you're right. It's almost like women tend to be a little more humble in a way, but unnecessarily humble. Mm-hmm. Take the win, Now, I also see that as a great path to leadership, right? Because when the team wins, is their win. When things go to the basket or hit the fan, a good leader takes responsibility. right? But it's not to be confused with the same to say, hey, yes, I did this. This is my doing, my initiative. This is great. And you're right. If that happens more often, more recognition shall be passed to those that deserve it. And yeah, women deserve it.
So let's shift it a little bit. So looking at women as being nurturing, I did find it fascinating that she made it very clear, and she made a comment about mission statements. She said that, because she is so influential, she is very dynamic, that people naturally follow her, right? You want to listen to her. But she said that mission statements have to be supported by those that are actually living it and living to the values individually and or the company's values, and it has to be evidenced in their own behavior. How often do we see company mission statements and ain't no one following it or give a rat's to what the mission statement is?
I mean, I can't give you examples of that. I mean, I could give
I imagine you guys hear a lot of that, right? When you're building a podcast, when you're defining what that's going to be, it's almost kind of goes hand by hand on the mission statement of the show, right?
Right.
So I bet you guys get to hear a lot of BS, right? What the people want the company to be. I think that sometimes I see the mission statement is like, all right, let's come out with the coolest thing. Then people will be like, oh, wow. And the reality is completely different. So I don't know. You tell me.
And I guess from that perspective, I feel too many times you see the mission statement as this, like, to your point, pull out the paper. It's this really cool thing that we've got stashed away. I'm sure we hired a great consultant to help us create this, but nobody gives a what it is. Nobody's reading it. Nobody lives it. Right. Where I feel like those companies, and I can't pull out their mission statements, but just where they're like really connected to their core, like Harley Davidson is one I can think of. You know what I mean? And again, I don't know their mission statement, but I would bet their employees understand what they're there for and what they're building for. It's more than just a motorcycle, right? And I think that's where those companies, where it's more than just bop, whatever it is you do, there's a true meaning behind that. I think that's where you can tell that they do. I mean, Wells Fargo is one where I could roll my eye. I could only imagine what their mission statement is. Wells Fargo and Bank of America are two companies where I bet $1 million if I read their mission statements, I'd roll my eyes and be like, tell you guys really match with that one. You know what I'm saying? Like,
ooh, you called out names, Erin. Ooh.
American Airlines would probably be another one, even though I fly them. God, they just like treat you like you're welcome for letting you get on this plane right now. You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's
so whatever problem. Theirs is, I would roll my eyes at it.
So okay, so she had an analogy then on that. Then is feet, FEET. Okay, guys, she talked so fast I couldn't type fast enough. So I got it as freedom, excellence and deliver, excellence again, and time. No, I forgot the second E. I don't know what it was.
I wrote it down. I don't know what I did with it though. I lost it.
I was loving it because she was talking so well to it, and I was like, shh, I can't find it fast enough. But giving your employees and yourself freedom to explore, freedom to innovate, freedom to be yourself, and then excellence in delivery, right? Executing. I really loved that part of it, and then give yourself the time, right? To execute, to manifest itself. And I just love that, because how many times, again, for us as entrepreneurs, do we give ourselves the freedom to wander, or we heads down of, I've got to do this business objective, I've got to get to XYZ or task at hand.
So I've got feet if you want me to read it.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so it's freedom, excellence, and delivery. Everything matters, so invest the time to understand. That's what she said. Again,
it's like you think about. I mean, it's meaty. Like, it's one of those things you have to sit and look at and go, let me parse this out.
Yeah. You know what? To me, it almost feels like this is something she arrived to after try and error. You know what I mean? Like she might have tried that. Because we, as an entrepreneur and business in general, you fall for those detours that every entrepreneur falls for, which is like, you have to have a business process procedure to implement so you can, right? And it's this kind of spins it on his head, because he's saying, take the time to look at everything and be good at it. Forget about the procedure for a second. Let's just be genuinely good at what we do. And that clashes with most corporations, right? It's about efficiency. It's about systematization. It's about, and I was just referring to the Golden Circle with Simon Sinek, where he talks about companies positioning themselves from what they do, how they do it, and why, and uses Dell as an example. It's like, we make computers and they're fast and you want to buy one, versus Apple then starts with why.
Mm-hmm.
We're the Cavaliers, we're unique, we're individuals, independent. We happen to make computers. Whole different approach, right? And I think that was a little bit what I gathered from her. She makes these little comments, and they're very inspirational, right? Just in the conversation, and that goes back to the quotable thing. She connects with emotions with people. I think that was very unique, and I think her business or her company kind of tends to do that. Not just her as an individual, but her company as a whole, from global to take the time to, that was interesting. It was unique.
Oh, I love it. So, Erin, I can't believe how fast time is wrapping up here. So, you guys, if we could just summarize our perspective or takeaways from Janice, what would you guys come up with?
I mean, I'm in awe of her and resilience. Like I mentioned, I can't imagine the asinine things she heard through her entire life. I know the stupid things I've heard to me, and this wasn't 40 some years ago, right? So for her to continue on, to put a virtual middle finger up to the world and continue on and show what she's done, she's absolutely commendable to me. And to your point, Syya, of if she's done it, I have no excuse at this point to stand up and do it, no matter what anyone says to you, no matter what anyone does to you, no matter the cringeable roll your eyes moments, the things that hurt you. I mean, like I said, I'm sure she's been, again, just being a woman of color, being all these things. She's a true inspiration, and one of those people you look at and say, I have no excuse.
Yeah.
Love it. Tino, what about you?
I think for me, were a couple of things. One, yes, as a business person, the level of success that she has accomplished is because of her history. And sometimes I feel I personally sometimes don't embrace that as much as I should, because I want to be good at what I do, and I'm gonna, and sometimes you don't reflect where you came from and saying, I have come a long way and I have accomplished a lot more right? So that's one side that I need to reflect a little more on that. But the most important one for me was words mean things. Be cautious, not cautious, but be intentional on how you communicate with people, and being in a positive way, mentoring someone, just being kind. We got to take time to do all of those things. So I took it more in the personal sense and the business sense. Janice, I'd love to buy you a drink. Let's sit down, chat some more, break some bread.
Oh yeah, no, I'd imagine she'd be a hoot. So for me, my big takeaway from her, and it was a quote, is I have everything I need to be everything I need to be. And I absolutely love that, because that goes back to self-love and trusting yourself too. I actually was talking about this last night. It was an individual. If you can imagine concentric circles, that core, that center is you, right? No one else but you can affect change, and everything else around you, varying degrees will have impacts, but it's just you that ultimately you can rely on. And I just love that quote that she says, I have everything I need to be everything I need to be. And I just thought it was great. So on that note, again, for those that want to hear more speakers like this, you should join GLO. So Erin, let's talk about GLO for a sec.
Yeah, so GLO, this GLO stands for Global Leaders Organization. It's obvious we're all part of it. Syya and I are the co-chairs of Dallas. Tino's the chair of Houston. it's really an incredible organization. And to this whole discussion today, Michelle Lemons Placente is the CEO and founder, and her mission is to help women founders because, you know, just on this topic, again, we are not in the same times that our speaker was, but there's still room for improvement, and she's out to make a mission to help. But it is an organization for everyone. So we'd love to have you be a part of the Dallas chapter, or if you're in the Houston area, please reach out to Tino, but you can go to withglo.com to sign up, and premium memberships, you get that live event and a little more. So.
And Tino, for you, any updates on Houston or things that you would like to shout out and talk about Blue Light? I forgot to ask you how your business is going. My bad.
All right.
Minor detail.
So, you know, I want to, we're sort of relaunching Houston because with the pandemic, we definitely got shut down, and we're looking to bring that element in the Houston business community that wants to have these conversations, engage with other like-minded individuals that are pushing the BS aside, and we can have a common ground to become better people, individuals, and business folks. So I'm looking forward to meet you next month. We're going to have a face-to-face event. I think Vince might be part of it, and it will be a great time to see you face-to-face. If we're also going to do it virtually, so we're going to have that double thing. But yeah, we're excited. So I'm enjoying my time with you guys today. This was, as always, fun and enjoyable.
I got to tell you, and this is, you know, GLO is growing, and they are looking for other chapter chairs. So other cities, if there is no GLO local chapter and you are interested and you're an entrepreneur and successful, consider a Global Leaders Organization. It is such a cool organization. And you meet peers that you can, for all intents and purposes, become your virtual board of directors. And if you want a more formalized personal board of directors, we are advocating, and we are launching Forum, FORUM, which is a proper think mastermind on steroids, long-lasting relationships. So we just had a taste of Forum in Dallas, and yes, we were criticized that it was all male, but the bottom line is this: they are actually looking to bring diversity in. That's why they did it, because they want to show how good Forum is. And unfortunately, they had 2 members recently leave because they left the state, and who happened to be female. So yeah, optics look a little bit bad, but we're all about diversity and inclusion.
We got grilled on that.
You know what? Yeah. Here's my perspective. You and I have always been huge advocates. Look at us, Erin.
So I hope women business owners grow. I really do. I mean, I'm not against them.
No, I mean, it's laughable, but it was constructive because we do have to be aware of the optics today. It's a different business environment we're in, and is great feedback. It hurt my feelings a little bit because Erin and I, so you know, Tino, we had a Women in Tech Leadership series before the pandemic, and it was like one of our best podcasts, quite frankly, because it's awesome to highlight amazing women leaders. And so we've always been huge advocates. And then so for us to get criticized, I was like, damn, damn, that hurt. You know, it stung a little bit because I'm like, I guess I'm not. Anyway, I'm not going to say it.
I think the way I see it for you, especially you guys in the Dallas, I'm looking for that female role member that comes in and becomes a magnet, carries that gravitas. I think you guys have that for the Dallas market. You guys carry the gravitas as a business leader, and then going to attract like-minded women to come in and join you guys. So I know you. I'm with you. You're all good.
Thank you. Oh, thanks. You know, yeah. Keep going. Give me. No, I'm joking. But on that note, though, so next week's speaker is Rick Sapio, and he is founder of the Business Finishing School. That is another the business. BFS for short is a great advocate for Global Leaders Organization. They are sponsoring the Business Acceleration 2.0 series. But also as GLO members, you will have access to the Business Finishing School. Think of it as a MBA online for businesses and entrepreneurs to understand how to take your business to the next level, especially if you're looking to get access to capital. So it prepares you for that, but also gets you thinking bigger, broader, from a small business owner to a true entrepreneur looking to scale. And maybe us, 3 here talking could be the next Janice Bryant Howroyd.
And we don't highlight that enough, see, about access to capital, and it's not your traditional banking. I mean, there's many ways to do that, but definitely access to learning how to access that capital is key. And so that's a good starting point. If you're already in that positioning of being in the process of getting funded, you should still come and figure out what else we can do. That makes us unique as an entrepreneur group.
Exactly. And so I'm very big on social causes, and on behalf of Erin, because I have one of Erin's rescues, I do want to do a little PSA. Please, everyone, if you are looking to adopt or having a family member added to your family, and I'm talking about animals, not humans, you can do that on your own, but please consider adopting. Erin, do you want to do one quick PSA?
I do and I don't, because, well, yesterday was National Dog Day, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. We're in the Dallas area. Fort Worth and Dallas, as the Dallas animal shelters, as someone said this past week, had a bloodbath over there. So unfortunately, they are in massive code red situations. People are bringing back all their adorable COVID puppies that they wanted. And now just please don't buy, please don't shop, please go and rescue. They need your help tremendously right now. I just saw Rowlett was code red. Code red is not good. That means dogs are going to lose, or animals. So please go adopt. Please,
and that could be dogs, cats, for those that live on ranches, horses, all that. Please, please, please. Or if you cannot adopt, please donate or foster, right? So that is our PSA for the thing. And I just love babies too much. And so on that note, let's think positively. Go to Grow with GLO to learn about Business Leaders Organization. Guys, have a great, wonderful week. We will see you next week. And thanks for joining us, everyone. Thank you, Tino. We really appreciate
Happy Friday.
you.
Enjoy the weekend.
Happy Friday, everyone.